Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. I am your host, Guy, joined by my fellow co-host, Connor
Hello.
and Brewer. Brewer, wake up, please. We're recording.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please don't kill me. It was a prank.
Brewer, you okay? Chill out. It was just a dream.
Oh God, that felt so real.
What were you dreaming about? You mentioned something about Cuckoos from Zelda?
I was on this weird island. There were talking animals. This giant freaking egg on a mountain.
Brewer, are you 100% sure you didn't take hard drugs before you went to sleep?
50-50.
Okay, but you know what? Brewer's crack dream actually reminded me of Link's Awakening. That's crazy.
You're right. Brewer, I know what we're going to talk about today. Introducing our episode on The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. What is it? What is it? What is it about? Why is it great? And is it one of the best Zelda games? All talked about today in this episode. So boys, oh my god, it's Link's Awakening. I love this game. It's so good.
This game was the second ever Zelda game I ever played. So it holds a very special place in my heart.
Really? I did not know that.
Same here, actually, yeah.
Yeah. My first one was Breath of the Wild. And after that, I became understandably, became a very big Zelda fan. And I had watched a bunch, after I had beaten it, I had watched just a lot of YouTube videos on Zelda, whether it be about lore, actual games, and stuff like that. And then I remember the reveal trailer for that game got announced and everyone was like really excited for it, and I was like, this game actually looks really good, so I'm going to play it. And then I did, and it is genuinely like a 9.5 out of 10 game for me.
That's probably the rating I give it to.
It's genuinely fantastic. Like, there's very little flaws, but like, even without the remake, it's still a fantastic game. It's just crazy to me, like, how creative they got and what they managed to do on the Game Boy hardware back then to make just such a fantastic experience. Because a lot of people, or even like big name reviewers, will put it as like one of their favorite Zelda games.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, is that like you'd think by making like a mainline Zelda game portable. Well, actually, no. Retract that a little bit. You think by making the series portable, it would be more of like a spin-off, but no, it's a mainline title in the series, and it's treated like that. Like it has a lot of dungeons. It has like full 20-hour playthrough to go through. There are like 20 hearts to collect. There's a good amount of side quests to do. This is treated like any other Zelda game.
Well, what's crazy to me too is like what it became, especially for its roots. Because like, first off, it was like the first Zelda game that Miyamoto did not direct at all. Like, this is before we had like, Eiji Aonuma directing most everything. But like, it was the first one Miyamoto didn't direct, and like, it started out as just like a little hobby project. Like Kazuaki Morita, he was like, the Game Boy like recently came out at the time, and this was after A Link to the Past was made. He was just like trying to test the Game Boy's like power to see what it could do. So we made like a Zelda-like, or something with Zelda-like gameplay. It caught the eye of like the Zelda co-director at the time, Takashi Tezuka. And then like, it was just a little side project for a while, but like, it became something so much more. They kept getting new ideas. They eventually pitched it to Nintendo. And then at the time, it was just going to be like probably a port of A Link to the Past. But then like, the developers, they just kept getting more ideas that they wanted to test out from A Link to the Past that they couldn't implement. And then they got something like entirely unique that's also just considered one of the most like unique Zeldas we've ever gotten. It's just a crazy story in general.
That's yeah.
Before we go into like more of like the nitty gritty regular creep, we should talk about what exactly the premise of Link's Awakening is. So to start off, Link's Awakening sees Link at the beginning of the game, very first cutscene, he is he's on a ship in a very, very massive storm, and a wave takes him overboard, and he wakes up on an island where he is told that he has to find the windfish, and that once he finds the windfish, he's able to escape the island and go back to Hyrule. That very simple premise, but it's so much more than just that.
Yeah. Well, it's very unique in the fact too that it's missing just a lot of key Zelda elements. Like, there's nothing with the Triforce. Zelda, like, name of the character in the title. Zelda is not in the game at all. Like, I think there's only a brief mention of Zelda and like a passing line, but like Zelda is not in the game at all. There's no Master Sword, no Big Ganon or whatever. Just like a lot of key Zelda elements are just not in there.
Yeah, like you could say the main like female character is like Marin, which is the girl who wakes Link up at the beach.
Yeah.
But even then, she doesn't have like the plot importance of Zelda. And like we were saying, like there's many like things that are Zelda staples that are just taken away from this game, which is kind of crazy because if you're thinking in the context of when this game was released, it is the fourth game to release in the Zelda franchise. So it was a very unique risk to take this. I would say like take this risk of like going against what like your foundations are and like try something very unique because like a lot of people will agree that this is probably the most unique Zelda game, like mainline wise.
Yeah, at least with the story and stuff, like gameplay is still pretty similar, especially when comparing it to the other top-down Zeldas at the time. But it's still crazy to me just like how much they were able to do with the hardware at the time. Because like, other than like the graphics for like the original Game Boy version, which is updated just a little bit in the remake, like the gameplay is just as solid as like its contemporaries at the time.
Yeah,
And it inspired like a lot of Zeldas after it as well. Like the thing you just mentioned about like Marin, like Ocarina of Time, considered one of the greatest Zeldas ever made, or like one of the greatest games ever made. Like Eiji Aonuma himself has said, like Ocarina of Time would not be the same game that it is if Link's Awakening never released. Because like that's why there's the characters Malon and Talon in that game, because they were a nod to Marin and Terran from Link's Awakening.
Yeah, it's a once you play it, you really can see like why this game was such a impact on the series, because it truly is just incredible.
It really is. And like the game itself is also just not afraid to get weird. And what I mean by that is that it just takes enemies and other things from other Nintendo games. I'm not even kidding when I say this. Goombas are enemies in this game.
Yeah.
There's a chain chomp.
Kirby is an enemy.
There's a Kirby enemy. There's a Yoshi plush that is required for a side quest if you want to fight the final boss properly. The game is not afraid to like just take these other properties and do what it wants with the game, and that adds to its charm because especially about the reveal of like what exactly the island of Koholint is, it makes so much more sense, and it's so unique as a concept, which we will not be spoiling because you should play it for yourself. But I will say this: Link's Awakening is probably the most morally ambiguous game in the series.
It definitely is. It definitely is. That's saying something. I was just gonna say, something I remembered too, a funny thing about like the Mario enemies and like the other Nintendo characters popping in. They've said in interviews that like they actually never asked for permission for those characters to actually be in the game, like at all. Because like, again, they were making this for the Game Boy, and they were kind of just going with whatever they wanted at the time. It was like just like a fun dev project. So like they kind of just put them in the game without asking, and they were like, it's releasing for the Game Boy, it's fine, they ain't gonna care.
It's not plagiarism if it's stealing from yourself.
Yeah, I mean, basically.
That's insane, though.
Yeah, it's very funny because, like, in the remake, like the one we're covering now, that's where the studio that made the remake actually asked for permission, while the people that made the OG game did not.
That's beautiful.
It is beautiful. I love stories like that.
Oh my god. What were we about to say, Connor?
I was gonna. This is like just a quick thing about how you were saying the game isn't afraid to get weird. Um, there in the game, if you there's a shop, and if you can steal the items from it, but if you do, a god like a basically a godly voice will talk to you directly as the player, like scolding you for stealing the items. And if you go back to try to return it, the shopkeeper in there will literally just kill you if you come back in.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the funny thing too is like your save file will be permanently branded
as a
as thief.
Yeah. It's really really funny.
It really is, because no other games like really do that, which is just hilarious to me. That like, oh wow, your actions have consequences. Who would have fucking thought?
Hey, like we were saying, it's morally ambiguous.
Not the part I was talking about, but we'll count it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
I mean, hey, with the shovel being as expensive as it is, yeah, I'm stealing that damn shovel. Fucking inflation's a bitch, I swear.
I'm not,
True.
because I'm a good little boy and I will pay for my things.
You say that, and you're going to be indebted with like forever. So
Connor says
Sorry,
that I
Connor.
check his save file and all of his save files are branded as thief. I'm like, you're fucking lying.
Oh god.
I actually never did steal. I only stole on a separate save file just because I wanted to see what the like dialogue was, because I had heard that happens.
Yeah, it is very funny. That was just added in the game for something most people would not even try.
It's very, yeah.
It's hilarious.
But yeah, it's really funny. But I think we should maybe get on to like probably one of the best parts of the game, that being like the gameplay and dungeons.
Ooh,
Dungeons
yeah,
are
definitely.
so fucking good in this game. Oh my lord.
Yeah, it's really incredible that these these dungeons are fantastic, and they were like Game Boy games, like or like they were on the Game Boy version, and they were like that good back then. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's and the thing is too is that like these dungeons, in my opinion, I think they have like the perfect amount of like difficulty. Like they're not too challenging, but like they're gonna make you think, and you can't just like bum rush them. Like you have to think like you have to think with tact, and that's like the
Yeah.
best way to describe like a lot of the dungeons in this game.
Yeah, I'd say it isn't like some of the Oracle games to where I felt like this is way too damn confusing, or like this was a little unfair for trying to figure out the puzzle.
Or like
But
Ocarina of Time, where I'm sitting in the water temple and I'm like, this is bullshit.
yeah, my boy Connor, you got to play that 3DS version. It makes things so much better.
Yeah. But I completely agree with Guy, where I'm like, the dungeons in the game are like they're challenging, but they're also like really rewarding if you are able to solve the problem without bum rushing it, and they are very hard to bum rush.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I
But
will say,
also just
Probably one
love
of
the
my,
item interaction.
Probably my favorite dungeon in the game, which is kind of weird because it technically wasn't in the original game, but it's the Color Dungeon, which was a optional dungeon that was added for the Game Boy Color remake of the game. And with this being like a definitive, I guess like a definitive version of the game, they added it back too, and it's so fun.
yeah, I'm really glad that they added that without like any like caveats. Like they knew that like they needed it.
What's the reward you get for beating the Color Dungeon again?
The what?
Red or blue tunic.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, one of them increases defense, one of them increases attack.
yeah,
You choose either
Like
or.
double.
yeah. That's actually I
Like
forgot
double,
you
which
got
is
that good of a
insane.
reward.
Oh yeah,
I will say
crazy,
this,
especially on hero mode.
I will say this though. I think I'm gonna be entirely honest. I think the Mirror Shield dungeon, I forget what it's called, but like the dungeon where you get the Mirror Shield, not gonna lie, kind of fucked me up. I did not know what the hell to do at first. That shit was insane to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little tricky.
Yeah, it's like I remember really struggling with like the final boss, like the boss of that dungeon, which is crazy because it's not even that hard. It's just like I would keep making these little mistakes and it would cost me a lot. But I still think it's a great dungeon. It's also it's called the Eagles Tower.
Eagles
Okay, yeah,
Tower, yeah.
Eagles Tower does fuck you up a little bit. Especially with like the whole like smashing the pillars thing.
I'm gonna beat this dungeon in one shot. Damn, this dungeon got hands.
It does.
Yeah, I would say it is kind of funny, like the differences with the bosses, because like you have that, and then you have the anglerfish in Angler's Tunnel.
Dude, what do you mean the anglerfish is the hardest boss in video game ever? Promise Consort Radon, get out of here. My
Actually,
the true worst boss in gaming, the anglerfish.
Honestly, for the anglerfish, I'm just kind of surprised they didn't steal from Pokemon and just put Magikarp in there, because that's essentially what you're fighting.
Yeah, just use a splash every time.
Basically.
Wait,
I'm
wait,
pretty sure
speaking of, isn't there
I've
a
no
cheat
hit
sheet?
it.
Wait,
Yeah.
isn't there a
Well, no.
cheap sheep in the game?
Yes, there are
Yeah,
cheap.
yeah, there are cheap for the fishing minigame.
I completely forgot about that, and that's awesome.
It's
Yeah,
very funny
But yeah,
considering
no.
the fact too that like I think Morimoto, that dev, he just put it in the game because he felt like it. Like he was known to really love fishing, so we just said, "Fuck it, I'm putting a fishing minigame in there."
Yeah. Also, that's how you know this game is peak, because it has a fishing minigame. Every peak game has a fishing minigame. Sonic
So
Frontier,
true.
Sonic Frontiers, fishing minigame. Majora's Mask, fishing minigame.
Oh yeah, I love fishing minigames.
And that's
True.
why Elden Ring isn't a good video game, because there's no fishing minigame.
Yeah, that game sucks.
Yeah, be
You heard it
like
straight
Monster
from
Hunter
us,
have a
guys.
fishing minigame.
True.
True.
That's why every Monster Hunter is good, except for the ones that don't have a fishing minigame.
Exactly, those games suck.
I think all of them
But,
have a fishing minigame.
Monster Hunter is the best series ever.
Monster Hunter now does not have a fishing minigame. Can confirm.
That game's on mobile, it doesn't count.
It doesn't have a fishing minigame.
It's like the Mario Kart Tour of the series. Like, are you really going to consider that mainline, even if the head company says it's mainline?
Are you going to consider Link's Awakening a mainline, even though it was on the Game Boy at first?
Yes,
Yes.
because it wasn't on a
Yes.
mobile phone,
Yeah.
Exactly, because the game is peak. So, but
and
yeah,
the Game
no, like,
Boy
getting
was an
back-
actual system.
Yeah.
Like getting back into it though, it's like with Link's Awakening, it's just like really it's really good. It's really good to see that like the developers of the mainline Zelda games put in the same amount of effort that they would for their normal games into a Game Boy game, like something portable. Because their game before this was Link to the Past, which is like considered the best 2D Zelda of all time. And then they come out with this game for the Game Boy, and it is just as good as the other Zelda games, which is just I'm so glad to see, because like
Yeah,
that just means that like they're passionate about like what they're trying to do.
yeah.
You
I think when they were making it, it's like it wasn't the approach of like let's just originally it was gonna be like let's port Link to the Past, but instead of going like let's make something that can just be all right for the Game Boy, they
Let's make
wanted to
something-
keep evolving the series. They were like, what's the next step for the series? Even if this is on Game Boy, like what's the next step for the Legend of Zelda?
Yeah, and that's sort of something I've noticed happens a good amount within the Zelda series, because that's why we got Tears of the Kingdom, because the developers behind Breath of the Wild had like so many ideas for what to do for DLC that they eventually just became too many, and they were like, all right, let's just make a new game based off Breath of the Wild, and they did, and it was great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's just really a thing with like all of Zelda. Like, and if you want to like go even further back with Breath of the Wild, Breath of the Wild expands on a lot of mechanics that Skyward Sword introduced. Primary one being stamina, and they expand upon like what the stamina meter could be in a Zelda game.
and it's like Majora's Mask as well, like that game is very heavily based off of stuff in Ocarina of Time, for better or for worse, given the circumstances the dev team had to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, the Zelda series has always been just very evolutionary. I guess they're always just trying to one up the last game. Because
And
like, again, even though this was on a Game Boy, they tried to like implement those ideas that they couldn't do with the Link to the Past. Like they had the item, like the double item mechanic, to where like some of the items would have effects with each other. So like using the Pegasus boots and then using Rock's cape would let you do like this jumping dash. It's like it's so cool.
yeah, it really is just like so like just incredible to see like I think that's a great mindset for a sort of develop like Nintendo to have in regards to the Zelda series of just like continuing to try to improve upon and evolve stuff from the last game. Because I mean, I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but I had heard that the next like the Zelda series is going to try to be like more open world as it goes on, due to Breath of the Wild and stuff like that. And I really hope they evolve sort of stuff and they fix the very minimal issues those two games have.
Yeah, I mean, with Echoes of Wisdom, like even now that they're going back to another top-down Zelda, which we haven't seen in a while, it
Yeah,
looks like they're doing that, like to where you can take any approach you want. Like I do love Link's Awakening, but it is a bit frustrating with like a lot of the older top-down Zelda games. Just like you see all these parts of the world you want to explore, but you're just so limited. It's kind of a linear path, even though it looks open. Like
yeah,
it is cool getting new items, like getting the hook shot, getting Rock's cape, so like you can go to some smaller areas that you saw stuff in but you couldn't get to, and then you find cool stuff for like, oh, this giant fetch quest line that leads to
fetch
a really good
quest.
item.
That's like the name of the thing.
Oh my god, it's the name of a really cool podcast. Damn.
My
I think
favorite
this.
podcast, in fact.
I'm pretty sure we've made this joke before, but whatever.
Man, we're so original. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Make sure to hit that bell, and Brewer will do a backflip.
Man, I'll break my neck doing a backflip. Give me Rock's cape and I'll do it.
Oh my
But
lord.
yeah, it's I okay. I do want to touch on this before we get into something deep. I am so excited for Echoes of Wisdom because A, it just looks really good, and B, it also has the exact same art. Well, not exact same, but it also has a very similar art style to Link's
Yeah.
Awakening.
I
And
want to say
Link's,
the art style for the Link's Awakening remake is so fucking pretty.
it really is like
Is
absolutely love like the toy aesthetic that it sort of has going on. It's why my Link amiibo, which is the Link's Awakening amiibo, is probably my favorite amiibo. I've only got four, so it's not really a hard fight to win, but um, it
Dude, it's like it's so shiny too. Like it looks like it was ripped straight out of the game.
yeah, it fits the amiibo aesthetic so well, and the art style in general is just it's probably like it's at least top three favorite parts of that game for me, and I'm so glad that like I don't know if they're going to keep doing this, but I really hope in the future they'll keep doing more like either top-down remakes or like just new top-down Zelda games, and they have this art style because it's such a great art style. It's
Yeah,
so
I
unique.
mean, with a new top-down Zelda, I'd be fine if they went with a different direction for the art style, something like maybe a Link Between Worlds. But I would like if Oracle of Ages and Seasons did eventually get remakes that are in the style of like what we got for Link's Awakening, because like they were also the Game Boy Zelda games.
Yeah, I mean,
I will say with the art style, I am hoping for Echoes of Wisdom they do still just up the ante a little bit, because like, well, I did really enjoy the Link's Awakening remake. Like again, very pretty game. I still feel like there was some stuff they could have improved on, make it feel more natural. Like for one, being able to use the D-pad or just walking around naturally instead of the locked directions. But also just like some stuff that didn't have to be tile based was still tile based, because that's how it was on Game Boy.
yeah,
Like little details like the grass, it was all staged out tile wise, when I feel like they could have just made it a big patch of grass that like you would naturally cut into. Each blade of grass individually could be cut instead of just like, oh, this is a patch here, here, and there.
yeah, and from what it seems like, it does seem like at least you'll be able to move freely in Echoes of Wisdom. At least that part does look
I mean,
confirmed.
yeah, a hell of a lot more freely.
Yeah. You can literally just go on top of trees. Um, but yeah, I'm very excited for that game if you couldn't tell.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this game, and like one aspect that like I'm I'm really glad that they're going back to is that they really haven't done a 2D Zelda since A Link Between Worlds, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that's like 2013.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not including remakes, like, well, the Link's Awakening remake we're talking about now, I'm pretty sure that was the last new 2D top-down Zelda game.
See,
Yeah.
that's insane to me because like these are like some like the 2D Zelda games are also like some of the most important video games in video game history. So it is just like I mean, it doesn't really surprise me because like the 3D games do sell more, but it's just like these games are so good. The 2D games are so good.
Well, I
Yeah.
wouldn't say they sell bad either way, because I mean, Link's Awakening sold a lot. Like, it was like I think the 15th best-selling Game Boy game of all time, and
Yeah,
then
I'm
like
not
the
saying they don't
remake
sell.
sold really well too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying that like okay, what has more marketability though, like Breath of the Wild or Link to the Past?
Well, I mean, Breath of the Wild,
Like a
but
Link to the Past remake, or like just the original Link to the Past,
Or
because
like
I feel like
Link to
that's
the
kind of an
Past?
unfair.
Like, well,
Because
that's what I'm saying.
you are
Like what I'm saying is
comparing.
that Breath of the Wild is more memorable
well,
because like
well, I was also
Well,
gonna say like it's very
that's-
different gameplay for like the giant 3D open space you can go anywhere in.
yeah, you are comparing the sun versus like Icarus right there. Like that is a very unfair like comparison.
an Icarus reference.
Kid Icarus reference. Let's go.
Talk about something
Hey,
they should
possible
bring
game
back.
talk about in the
Jesus
future.
Christ. Yeah, I was about to say something they should bring back. Jesus Christ. Hell, I mean, with that being said, guys, I mean, shit. I mean, we're kind of at that point, aren't we? I think it's about time we wrap up. What do you guys say?
No, true.
Yeah, I guess some concluding points real quick.
You guys mind if I start?
Sure,
Yeah, go for
sure.
it, man.
Okay, I'll start then. This game is one of my favorites of all time, probably. And since I've played more Zelda games. I've played like Minish Cap, Skyward Sword, the Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. I've played a good amount more, and this one still remains like at the top of my favorites list. The art style, the gameplay, the world, the story, it all melds together into this incredible package that I 100% would recommend to anyone who's wanting to get into Zelda. I'd obviously suggest like something like Breath of the Wild first, since that is definitely it's the big one, but I would definitely recommend Link's Awakening remake too. It's just such a great overall game that honestly, I'm so glad that they're continuing with the top-down Zeldas now, because I feel like that was like an experiment, sort of like from Nintendo, to see if like people wanted more of these types of games, and I'm so glad that people did.
Oh,
Same
cool.
here, man. I'm just glad that they're investing time to like making sure that like people do want it, like you said, and that like they are like going to be continuing on with this with Echoes of Wisdom. But
Yeah.
you go next, bro.
Yeah, I will add a little note onto that. I do think I remember another interview by like AG Alnuma when they were talking about like why they remade just Link's Awakening. They did mention like it because of how it's not as accessible because it came out like over 2 decades ago, like to actually obtain. It's like remaking it for modern hardware, so like it could be easily accessible. But then also to fix up some of the issues with the game as well and the limitations of the Game Boy, I think was fantastic. And again, I do hope we see that with some of the older Zelda games as well, specifically just the Oracle games. But besides that, though, general overview for me on Link's Awakening is it is a fantastic Zelda game and just game in general. It's very unique compared to the other Zeldas with its story, its undertones as well, but also just like its goofy writing as well. I really loved with all the fun characters they had around the world, even though the world could turn out to be a little more depressing than you'd think it would be on initial reaction. The dungeons are great. The world is fun to explore. I love all the items. And for the remake too, I love the brand new art style, like the toy aesthetic, and then all the little fixes as well. Like it was limited on the Game Boy because you had a D-pad, two main buttons, and then a start and select. But now you have the full Pro controller, which I will say one gripe in the game is I do feel like they could have done more to make it just more accessible because they didn't use all the buttons on the controllers that you could use. So like while there is some more stuff mapped, like shield is mapped to the shoulder buttons, so like you'll actually use it compared to the original where you would never have that shit equipped other than a couple puzzles with the mirror shield. While I am happy to see improvements like that, I do wish they had just gone a little bit further. But besides a couple of minor gripes, again, it is just a fantastic game overall. I cannot recommend it enough. It has wit and charm that I think no other Zelda games have matched in at least its unique way. All Zelda games have like a unique charm to them, but like Link's Awakening just has something different about it that I feel like any Zelda fan or just video game fan in general should enjoy. And 10 out of 10. Like, go play the game.
Yeah, man, that's fuck yeah. I agree, man. Like it's such a good game. It really is. My final thoughts on this game. I think that this is one of the best games on the Switch currently, and it is probably one of the best games on the Game Boy. If you were looking for a new Zelda game that you just haven't experienced yet, you want a fun, witty adventure, play this game. It's a good prelude to Echoes of Wisdom, and I feel like this game has really set a mark for like what a Zelda game can be, like in terms of like how far they're willing to stretch things, in terms of like what exactly are Zelda staples or what can be in a Zelda game. And I'm really appreciative of this game for the way it is. And I mean, like mentioned in the prior in this episode, without this game, Ocarina of Time and other games like it would not have been the way they are. There are so many unique things about this game that no other Zelda game has. So I feel like if you are to just give this game a shot, you will not be disappointed. I certainly was not disappointed. It had me emotional, it had me happy, it had me very satisfied, and I just gotta say, fuck, for a 20-hour game of this quality, that $60 is worth it in my opinion.
Oh yeah, yeah, fantastic game, and I love that it was just originally not even meant to be that, but like it was turned into just such a passion project, a love by all the developers, and they all just put so many unique ideas into it that it became the just amazing product that it is now.
Exactly.
And
Well, with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching our episode. We love this game a lot, and if you like content like this where we just glaze the shit out of games, like and subscribe, and tell us in the comments what your favorite dungeon or what your favorite part of Link's Awakening was. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode. We've been Fetch Quest, and this has been our episode on The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. See you later.
bye, everybody.
Goodbye.